Well, I've driven this thing for almost 500 miles now, or over 500 miles it is. I had a full tank when I picked it up. I drove that completely out, filled it up again. I'm now below a quarter of a tank in it, and it's never acted up whatsoever. In the meantime, after I'd put the rear shocks on, after driving all this time, the front ones are just weak, so I'm just going to go ahead and change them out real quick. And I've just decided to put a crank sensor in it. I don't want to give it back to them without trying something, because I haven't experienced a problem, and that seems like the most evident or possibility, the highest possibility, I guess. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to put a crank sensor in it. Whenever I'm replacing shocks and they got this stud on it, I want to make it as easy to go in as I can. Wire wheel, clean all that paint off the threads. It'll make it a lot easier getting it tightened on. The shock won't want to spin as badly. Alright, this was off the passenger side front, and as you can see, it's not doing anything. So that would explain what I was feeling when I was driving it. And look, you can see there's no evidence of leaks anywhere, but it's no good. Alright, there's passenger side in, new hardware. The old stuff was pretty rough on both sides, so just replaced it. So now we'll stick the wheel on and we'll work on that crank sensor. I went ahead and got all my tires dismounted. They're all off there. Guys always leave comments and tell me that I need to buy a tire mounting machine, a balancer. I don't do enough tires to justify the cost of one of those machines, and especially for as little as I'm going to use it. These work just fine, and I ain't afraid of a little bit of manual labor. It ain't going to break me. Alright, so aluminum wheels tend to corrode right where the bead seats. Alright, so you use this black sealer to go on here, and it's kind of gummy. Sometimes it doesn't dry completely. Right, so what I'm doing is taking wire wheel lightly around here and getting it all cleaned, so that when I go to do it, I can put a new layer of the black sealer on here, and hopefully the wheels will seal good. Plus, anywhere there's corrosion, I want that off, because that corrosion is just a place for the tire to leak air. I want to replace the valve stem, so I take a knife, I just cut the back side of the valve stem off, just behind the metal, and then you just pull it out. Next thing I'll do is, you see how we got corrosion all around in here. I'll take and clean that up real good and see what I can do about cleaning that up. Alright, so this is the bead seal that I use. Just paint it around anywhere there's a spot where it's corroded. I mean, I put it all the way around both beads, but anywhere there's a little more corrosion, I push a little harder, you know, make sure it works down in there. Now we're ready to mount the tires. Alright, we're going to replace the valve stem. So I'm going to stick it through the hole. Use this tool. It threads onto the valve where your cap goes. Thread it down all the way. Rest it on the rim in one of them notches and pull gently. Yep. Now she's in. Now we can take the core out. We're going to mount the tire, and then we'll air it up without the core in it. All right, so we're going to talk about these tires and why I chose these. These are Mastercraft tires made by Cooper. Cooper Mastercraft recently acquired by Goodyear, so now it's a Goodyear company. Not a Goodyear tire, but a Goodyear company owned. All right, so our options are, we could have put a passenger tire on it, which if you look at the size here, it would say P235. Or we could get what's called an extra load. Or beyond that, you could have an LT235, being a light truck. I chose these tires because they're an extra load. I thought a passenger tire was a little bit too light for that SUV being all-wheel drive, and I preferred the extra load. He doesn't tow much very often, but it's a little bit stronger, heavier tire than what was on it originally. Now, when I looked this up, I get these from a tire wholesaler, and they deliver to us. So these tires I was able to get for substantially less than any tire shop, Walmart, whatever, Tire Rack, any of the mobile online places. I get these significantly lower than what you see online because it's a wholesaler. So I chose these because I think they're going to be a good tire. You can see their ratings. Tread wear is 500, traction is A, temperature is B. The tread wear, the mileage warranty, I can't say for certain, but I think these were 50,000 miles, which 50,000 miles obviously is going to be enough for them because that SUV only has 117 and it's a 1996. So also on a tire, you can see there's always, after 90 something, I think it was, they started, the DOT started, Department of Transportation wants a production date on the tires. And the way you read this is 3121 is the 31st week of 2021. That tells you how old your tires are. The other thing is on these tires you'll see tread wear 500, traction A, temperature B. A being the best. Traction, the best rating you get is A or possibly double A, I guess. So they should be a good tire for them. Good tread, good traction for an all-wheel drive, but not overly aggressive and loud. So now we got them on, we're gonna load them up and go get them balanced. All right, this is a spare tire that he had. It's a brand new wheel, brand new tire, but it was flat. So stuck some water in here around the bead. Well, let's say the valve stem's loose. Somebody mounted the tire on the wheel, the valve stem's leaking. It wouldn't tighten at all. It's still leaking. Alright, we're going to take that core out, see if we can change it, see if that fixes it. Change out the core. And looks like nothing. I think we're alright. Make sure I get all that out of there because I don't want the water to freeze in there. Winter time's coming. If there's water in there, it stays and it can freeze. It'll could make a leak. Alright. That one should be good now. Now we'll take them and get them balanced. Alright, we're all loaded up. Let's go get these things balanced. Alright. They're all balanced. They didn't take very much weight, so that is fantastic. Alright, let's get them unloaded. Alright, so the crank sensor is way down in there and it's extremely tight. So what I'm going to do is attempt to take the motor mount bolt loose and let the engine down, so it'll maybe give me a little bit more room back in here to work, or from underneath. So what I have to do is I have to remove the clutch fan from the water pump, because if I go to lower it, that clutch fan is going to hit the shroud and probably break it. So what I'm probably going to do is take the bolts loose here, take the nuts off, knock the fan clutch loose, take the fan clutch and the shroud out as one unit, because I don't want the clutch hitting the radiator. I can't remember if there's bolts on the bottom of that fan shroud or not, but we'll see. And then we'll lower this down after we get the motor mount bolt out and see if that helps us at all. Well, it did give me a few more inches. I can get my hands in here now. I can get down to it. You still can't see it because it's buried way down in here, but at least right now It's a ground strap. I can feel the 2 bolts that hold it. I couldn't get on them before, so get a, feels like possibly a 10mm. Get that and like a 6-inch extension, see if we can get on it. So these are the bolts that are in it, and I can see why they're Allen head, because if you use a socket, it's such a tight clearance, the top bolt of the 2 will get caught and get bound up. So if you use the Allen head socket, you might be farther ahead. In fact, I'll figure out what size that is. Looks like 8mm maybe. Anyways, so the bolts are out, and it is way down in here. I doubt you're gonna be able to see. Oh, looky there. Get some light on the subject here. Come on. There we go. Got a little oil leak, and well, you still can't see it. It's very tight down in there. Anyways, let me see if I can get it popped out. Alright, so I was able to get it pulled out. It came out pretty easy. I was really expecting to have to fight to get it out. But that's it. Now I gotta get it disconnected up in here, which is a whole nother fiasco. This V8 5.2 liter engine in this Jeep is where the definition of 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag came from, because man, I can't even get barely my hands up in here to do anything. So here I am on the other side. This is the driver's side, and the plug for it is right up in here, but you still can't get your hands in there anywhere to get to it. So I'll have to go up from the top, I think, and come down. Since it's so tight in there, I was comparing to make sure they're exactly the same, you know, the bolt holes and all that, because you can't see what's going on in there. You're just using the Helen Keller method, so I want to make sure it matches up perfectly and make sure the cord is at least the same length, because it's really not exactly easy to get plugged in either. So I found out it's a 9mm Allen. However, the only one I have is 3/8 drive, so it wasn't nearly as easy as what I was started with, which was a 13 on a wobble extension quarter drive with a flex head ratchet. So now I've got it in. I just have to hook the ground back up, because there was a ground cable that goes from the engine to the firewall. It was in the way, so now I got to put that back in. I'm going to put that in, then I'm going to start it, make sure it runs okay before I put all this back together, you know, put the motor mount back in and all that. Because I don't, if there's a problem with this, I'd rather address it now while the engine's down than have to go through all that again. Well, seems to run. I guess the crank sensor works. So yeah, let's go ahead and put it back together then. When I put the fan clutch back on, I like to hit it with the air hammer just to snug it down. Not a lot, just, you know, make sure it's on all the way. And then I check to make sure it's seated up against the water pump. Alright, so it's all back together. So we're gonna close the hood, go take it for a drive, make sure it's okay. Put some miles on it. If it doesn't act up, then we're gonna go ahead and return it. Let's go for a test drive. See how she's gonna do. Fingers crossed. We gotta go get some gas first, because we're out again. I'm down below a quarter tank. I ran 2 tanks of gas out of this thing. Going down this county road here, and every time you would hit a bump before, the steering wheel would just kind of jerk back and forth a little bit, and you know, just felt like something wasn't quite right. So that replacing the front shocks on this thing is taking care of that. It rides beautiful now. It doesn't feel like it's washing out from under you. So, and of course it runs fine. It has. So we're gonna go get some fuel and then go drop it off to them. So if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, guys. Leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.